Good evening and welcome to The Point. This evening we'll be taking a closer look at the President's 3-day state visit to France. The timing of that...
Continuing his 3-day official visit to France, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi is holding talks with French officials, including Prime Minister Jean Castex, the head of the French Senate, the Secretary General of the Development and Cooperation Organization, and heads of a number of French companies operating in Egypt. Earlier, the head of state held summit talks with his French counterpart, Emmanuel Macron, Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian, Defense Minister Florence Parly, and Mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo.
On the third and final day of his state visit to France, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with French Prime Minister Jean Castex in Paris on Tuesday, during which they discussed means to foster bilateral ties in various domains, in addition to issues of mutual concern. President el-Sisi held Egyptian-French strong friendly ties in all fields, confirming that Egypt is looking forward to boosting joint cooperation, especially at the economic and trade levels. For his part, the French Premier expressed his appreciation to Egypt and praised the joint historical relations. Castex also affirmed his government's keenness to increase investments in Egypt in a bid to support the developmental efforts in the country, especially after the huge achievements held under the leadership of President Sisi. Presidential spokesman Ambassador Bassam Radi said the talks also tackled bilateral relations and means of boosting cooperation in the military and security fields. A number of regional and international files with mutual concern were also tackled during the meeting. President Sisi also holds talks with the head of the French Senate and the Secretary General of the Development and Cooperation Organization and heads of the French companies operating in Egypt. On Monday, the head of state held summit talks with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron and held a joint press conference during which the two leaders addressed key issues. President Sisi later met with France Defense Minister Florence Parly to review aspects of bilateral military cooperation. He also held talks with Mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, at the mayorship headquarters, probing the latest national projects and tackling means of fostering future cooperation between Cairo and Paris. In this regard, President Sisi affirmed that new mega projects provide various fields for boosting joint cooperation concerning the establishment of new cities, especially the new administrative capital, and boosting ties in tourism and antiquities fields. For her part, the mayor welcomed the president's visit to France and expressed her keenness on enhancing cooperation with Egypt, particularly at the cultural level. Starting his 3-day official visit to Paris on Sunday, President Sisi met with French Foreign Minister Jean-Yves Le Drian on a number of regional and international files, including developments in Eastern Mediterranean, Libya and Syria, as well as developments of the Palestinian cause and means to revive the Middle East peace process. The president asserted that regional and disputes would be settled through the international community's support to its national institutions and expressed Egypt's keenness on boosting strategic partnership with France. For his part, Le Drian said France wants to enhance coordination with Egypt on Middle East issues in light of the strategic balance Egypt has maintained in the Eastern Mediterranean and the region. On the sidelines of the president's visit, the two sides signed a number of agreements in various domains. The agreements were signed from the Egyptian side by a number of ministers, including Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry and Minister of International Cooperation, Dr. Rania al-Mashat. The Egyptian community in France held a welcoming gathering in front of the president's residence in Paris. Raising Egyptian flags, the Egyptian expats chanted patriotic songs and slogans in support of Egypt and the president. The head of the General Association of the Egyptian community in France said Egyptians were keen to take part in the gathering to show support for Sisi's efforts in development in all fields.
As part of efforts to fight terrorism across the country, the armed forces said on Tuesday they had been able to monitor and destroy a number of terrorist hideouts. A statement says several operations had been launched from September 1st, 2020 to December 8th of the same year. According to the statement, the Air Force has successfully destroyed 437 homes and warehouses for explosive materials and ammunition in the northeast of the country, adding that 25 terrorists were killed during the operations. The statement also said that 6 4x4 vehicles used by terrorist elements had been targeted and destroyed, and a number of operations had been carried out, leading to the killing of 15 terrorist elements. 3 automatic rifles, a sniper rifle, a communication device used by terrorist elements, as well as a number of mobile phones and passports were seized. Up to 159 explosive devices were discovered on main axes and roads. 32 motorcycles used by terrorists were destroyed, and 12 terrorists were arrested. Maritime forces have continued their efforts to secure and protect borders in all strategic directions and secure vital targets in Egypt's territorial waters in the Red Sea and the Mediterranean. Polling stations closed their doors for voters to cast their ballots at 9 p.m. in the second round of the parliamentary elections runoff. Voting inside Egypt kicked off on Monday. Runoffs were limited to candidates running under the individual system who competed for the 101 undecided seats. Up to 42 individual seats were secured during the first round. 142 seats reserved for candidates running under the party list system were decided during the first round. The runoff of the second stage included constituencies of 13 governorates. Prime Minister Dr. Mustafa Madbouli presided over a cabinet meeting via video conference where he reviewed a number of vital files on Tuesday. During the meeting, Madbouli hailed President Sisi's current visit to France and its role to boost and support relations with France as well as the European Union. The Premier said the joint press conference held between President Sisi and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron tackled important number of files, including human rights as well as the current crisis in the region. In another development, Minister of Health Dr. Hala Zaid said her ministry was ready to face the second wave of coronavirus through upgrading the infrastructure of 44 hospitals and increasing its capacity to receive patients. Minister Zaid reviewed her ministry's efforts to obtain a coronavirus vaccine.